The Israeli Defense Forces dealt perhaps the hardest blow to Hamas militants today. As we look at the day's events in Gaza, we see that Hamas militants have suffered serious casualties. The Israeli Defense Forces have been carrying out attacks on Hamas elements regardless of the time zone. The Israeli Defense Forces are using all the means at their disposal, both to rescue the hostages captured by Hamas and to protect Israeli territory by inflicting heavy damage on Hamas's attack force. The Israeli Defense Forces carry out their attacks in this context. Each attack carried out by the Israeli forces brings them one step closer to ground operations. In a statement made by the Israeli Defense Forces in the early hours of the morning, it stated that it carried out a large-scale raid on Hamas targets identified in Gaza. The Israel Defense Forces carried out a targeted raid in the northern part of the Gaza Strip at midnight, involving infantry forces and tanks. The Israeli forces said that the troops neutralized a large number of Hamas militants, military infrastructure, and anti-tank guided missile launching sites. The Israeli Defense Forces said that the midnight raid was part of preparing the border area for the next phase of the war, referring to a full ground offensive. The Israeli Defense Forces said that after the raid, the troops left the area and returned to their defensive positions. The raid was the largest Israeli Defense Forces attack on Gaza since the start of the war. Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, the top spokesman for the Israel Defense Forces, provided details of last night's raid by infantry and tanks. On Hamas positions and members, Hagari said that the army would continue with limited ground raids in the Gaza Strip after the troops operated for several hours over the border fence to attack. Hagari emphasized that the raids will be carried out tonight and will continue with even greater force in the coming days. Hagari noted that the Israeli Defense Forces are still carrying out massive strikes on the Gaza Strip from the air and sea and are focused on killing senior Hamas members and participants in the October 7th massacres. Hagari's morning statement was confirmed by airstrikes carried out by the Israeli Defense Forces in the afternoon. The Israel Defense Forces said it struck and neutralized Hassan al-Abdullah, the head of Hamas's Northern Khan Yunis rocket array. The Shin Bet Security Agency and the Military Intelligence Directorate had been gathering intelligence information on the whereabouts of Hassan al-Abdullah. The Israeli intelligence would have been conclusive, and the Israeli Defense Forces carried out a pinpoint airstrike. Israeli warplanes struck and neutralized al-Abdullah and several other Hamas members and destroyed several sites belonging to the militant group in the Gaza Strip today. The Israel Defense Forces posted a video on its social media account showing some of the latest airstrikes. Hassan al-Abdullah was not the only high-ranking official that Hamas militants lost today. Hamas forces lost 4 other senior officials in Israeli airstrikes today, 3 of them in the same attack. The Israel Defense Forces said it killed 3 senior commanders in Hamas Daraj Tufa battalion in an airstrike in the Gaza Strip today. The Israeli Defense Forces said the airstrike neutralized battalion commander Rifat Abbas, deputy commander Ibrahim Jadba, and a combat support commander, Tariq Maruf. According to the Israeli Defense Forces, the Daraj Tufa battalion is part of the Gaza City Brigade, considered the most important brigade of the Hamas militant group. Another video posted on the official social media account of the Israel Defense Forces gave details of the attack, in which a senior Hamas official was neutralized. The Israeli Defense Forces neutralized Shadi Baroud, the deputy head of Hamas Intelligence Directorate, the other day. The Israel Defense Forces carried out a massive airstrike on a building in the Gaza Strip, in which Baroud was discovered. The Israel Defense Forces accused Baroud of planning the October 7 attacks in southern Israel together with Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Baroud previously served as a battalion commander in the Khan Yunis area and held other roles in the militant group's intelligence directorate. The Israeli Defense Forces have accused Baroud of being responsible for planning numerous terror attacks against Israel. Israeli forces carried out massive airstrikes and extensive raids, achieving a major milestone. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant commented on the Israeli Defense Forces strikes and their repercussions in the Middle East and Israel. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant vowed that Israel will win the war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip and vowed to make a great effort to return the more than 200 hostages held by the militant group. Gallant emphasized that a ground operation was imminent. Gallant said he had no doubt that they would win the war. He said he saw victory in the eyes of the Israel Defense Forces soldiers who fought at all costs on October 7th and 8th after the first Hamas attack. Gallant said that there were Israeli soldiers who fell in battle, but that the division commanders successfully led the army in the first attack. The defense minister added that the soldiers stopped Hamas forces from advancing deeper into Israel and prevented them from inflicting further damage on Israel. Gallant said that due to the rapid reaction of the Israeli army, it was in a position to attack within 24 hours of the first Hamas attack, and the Hamas militants have crossed over. The defense minister said that Israel is waging its campaign against Hamas in Gaza by air, land, and sea, hitting bunkers, tunnels, and outposts used by Hamas militants. The Israeli defense minister said that war is inevitable and that it is the duty of the Israeli army to win this war so that Israeli citizens can live here in peace and quiet. Gallant also stated that it is his duty as defense minister to take great responsibility in this war. Gallant says that the planned ground attack will take place soon. He said that there will be additional stages in the war and that they are trying to create the conditions for them. Gallant is determined to ensure that the state of Israel is victorious against this harsh and evil enemy, against this essence of evil. Yoav Gallant, Israel's defense minister, said that nothing like this has ever happened before in Israel's 75-year history, but that what happens in the next 75 years will largely depend on the successes in this war. Answering questions from the press after his speech, Gallant said that Israeli troops are deployed in the south of Israel, ready for ground operations. Asked about the opening of a new front in the north, Gallant said that Israel was not interested in expanding the war, but that it could deal with it if necessary. Gallant said that this is always a possibility. Gallant also responded to allegations that Israeli forces failed in the October 7th attack. Gallant said that they are not interested in this at the moment and that their only focus is on victory. In conclusion, the airstrikes by the Israeli forces, the local raids, and the statements of the Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant show that the tensions in the war will increase day by day. Based on the attacks of the past day, we believe that the next phase of these attacks will be a combined forces operation. In a very short time, Israeli forces may begin to deploy on the streets of Gaza with a large and comprehensive air, land, and sea operation. Stay tuned for further developments in the coming days. Thank you for watching.